Welcome to Life Design Diaries, the podcast that gives you permission to live your best life. And this episode is another Ask episode, where one of our listeners has asked us a question which we are going to answer. So first of all, if you want to participate, get involved, head over to lifedesigndiaries.com/question and ask away, and we will answer it in a future episode. This week, the question is a really interesting one. It is, would you ever consider going back into full-time employment? With some polls saying as little as 15% of people are engaged in their jobs, do you think society would be improved if freelancing was more of the norm? So first of all, let's break that down into two parts. So the first one is, would you ever consider going back into full-time employment? What do you think, Lucy?
Okay, short answer is no. I don't think I'll ever go back into full-time employment at all. I think the last 12 months of being self-employed have been quite amazing and I've really enjoyed it, and definitely more ups than downs. What about you?
I wouldn't as well. I think that I really enjoy being self-employed. I enjoy the freedom, the fulfillment, the kind of flexibility that you have to do what you're doing on your own terms. Definitely not all positive though. And I would say one of the kind of things that I would miss at the moment is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Or
Do I not give you enough bants?
No.
Throughout the day?
No. No. And just that kind of, when you're employed, typically it's with a large number of people, so you get to see loads of different people, and starting out it can be quite lonely because you're on your own. So I would say I wouldn't consider going back employed, but what my aim to do is to actually replicate kind of employed life, but in my own way, with my own vision of what the culture would look like. However, it would be still under my terms because I would then own that business. So, the aim of building a business that you can grow into, what employ loads and loads of other people, you kind of, I think, would sit into the routine where it feels like you're going to work most days, every day when you want to, but you always kind of know it's on your terms and you've built that. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. Well, why? I just want to ask though, why were you such a strong no?
I really, really like the autonomy. I like being able to manage my own time. I think that there's a lot of personal growth being self-employed. You learn so much more about yourself. So it's not even really about your career or your earnings. It's just about your well-being and personal development, which has been ace and something I didn't really, really expect.
Yeah.
What about you?
Why is that? Just because it's testing times?
Yeah. I think you just learn how creative you can be, how agile you need to be. You know that I quite like the depending on yourself. So yeah, I guess I sit in a different on a different side to you. I don't see myself owning a big company and managing loads and loads of people. I quite like the soul working and creating stuff myself. Although, I am working with a few people, which I love, but I don't really envisage it being any bigger than that.
You like the lone working?
Yeah, I do.
And do you see yourself, you already employ people, but do you see yourself employing more people in the future? I
don't know. I think the people that are around the businesses at the moment are probably ones that are in for the long run. I don't know. I really didn't like managing people when I worked as a department manager at Sainsbury's, and I had about 60 people underneath me then, and I just have, I don't know, I kind of go into cold sweats when I think about performance reviews and things like that.
Yeah, well, I guess that leads us nicely then into the freelancing question. So, would society be improved if freelancing was more of the norm? What do you think?
So, to answer the question straight, no, I don't think society would be improved, because I think that you need the balance between the employed, the self-employed, and the business owners. What I do think would benefit society is more people being more aware and having more confidence to become self-employed. I don't think freelancing being the norm is the key. I think being a good salesman, understanding the fundamentals of marketing, understanding what client services means, that's what needs to be more of the norm for more people to become self-employed, if that makes sense. So it's not, I think that there's like a criteria or a bag of goodies that you need to have. There are some really fundamental skills that you need to be able to be self-employed and have like a healthy income, client list, and, you know, work-life balance being self-employed. So yeah, that's how I envisage it.
Okay. And what's your thoughts on the benefits of being a freelancer? Because you've been a freelancer. Mm-hmm. So what's the upside?
So for me, it was choosing who I work with. I really, really like that. You know, if you kind of have enough conviction and, you know, enough nous about you, you can go out and work with the people or companies that you like and are passionate about. So first and foremost, yeah, choosing what you're working on. I really like certain industries, so I would fall into those more than others. Again, I really like the autonomy. I liked kind of putting my headphones in, rocking up at a cafe and getting the work done and completing the work. I really like doing good work and presenting it to someone and then kind of getting that recognition back. That's something that I don't get at the moment because I'm working for myself on stuff myself. So apart from giving yourself a pat on the back, you know. And I also really like that you can have both sides of the coin. I could rock up at an office and be introduced to the team or spend some time in kind of a work environment, or almost pretending to work for a company. But then I could also take off Friday and Monday, or, you know, there is enough flexibility. So I really liked having the vision and flexibility of both.
Yeah. Okay. What's the downside there?
Well, yeah. The building up the self-confidence and getting rid of the demon in your mind, I think. You know, not having the confidence. I think that is the key. Like, anybody that thinks they would like to be self-employed, I just think, oh my God, go for it. Go for it.
But in particular, freelancing?
Yeah, freelancing. Because I think, would you say most people start by freelancing and then they kind of would build their business from there, maybe?
Not always.
Yeah, so I think the downsides are having the self-confidence and self-doubt and how you overcome that. Obviously, there's always the risk of having not a lot of business around, but then I do think if with enough financial planning, and you could set yourself up to have some buffer. And remember, if you're going from being employed, you generally can always be re-employed. So I definitely think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
Okay. I would also say if you're looking to be freelance, then it doesn't have to be like jumping in at the deep end, does it? You can like quietly try and do things on the side.
Yeah,
you can start
building
freelancing.
Up your portfolio. Yeah, definitely.
But I would say, I don't know, I've got a slightly different view in that I think if you're looking to go it alone and your decision is be employed or go freelance, and I'm seeing freelance here as a services based, doing, you know, building up clients, etc. I would say it depends on how good you are, of course, but the benefits of freelancing, like you said, is freedom. You know, you get a higher day rate than if you're employed. So that's like obviously a plus. And you get to work on your own terms. But I would say obviously the clear downside is lack of guarantee, lack of known, unless you really do build up a big client base and you actually know what you're stepping into. You've always got that uncertainty with being self-employed or freelance. that you don't quite know what money you're going to get from month to month. Now, my view, I do think there's a place for freelancers, of course. And I think if you're good and you enjoy that, and it depends what you want. If you want to build something that's like a lifestyle, then it's definitely worth considering going freelance, because I know so many designers and developers, web developers, that have gone freelance and they get a higher day rate, and they can actually afford to have a number of days off per week because it still averages out at what they were getting anyway, and they're on their own terms. So, it's a really nice way to do things. If you want to build something bigger than that, again, it might be a good way to start, because it's kind of like, I would say it's probably one of the best ways to get going, because it's a skill that you've already got. You've done it for other people, and you're just going to replicate that for yourself. Yeah,
it's almost like testing the water and testing yourself.
Yeah, to see if you can do it. And like you said, all those skills of sales and marketing and all of like finance, you may not have experienced in your current role.
Yeah, if you're employed role.
So actually, it's really, really good just to start properly experiencing those, rather than just learning about those, actually experiencing those. I would say, though, that one of the best things for me when I think about being self-employed is the ability to leverage other people's time, money, resources by partnering or employing people. So you kind of grow something that's bigger than just you trading your time for money. And if you kind of have got this freelancer thought in your mind, well, there is definitely an argument that I think that you could essentially be doing a very, very similar role, yet you just won't have the guarantee of a salary, which could be quite negative, because if you're, say, I don't know, a web designer, and you go to work every day and you do web design for a client, but you obviously get paid a salary. Well, if your vision is to just do web design for that same client or a different client, but it'll be on your terms, well, you're kind of doing a very similar thing, aren't you? Now, what excites me about that is if you then think about getting more clients and hiring another web designer and then building out, that's kind of like what I like about that. But I don't know if that's what certainly the listener has asked in terms of just straight up freelancing as a single person. But I think that's just where we differ, because like you said, you really like that idea of solo, headphones in, just kind of deliver on your own terms, don't you?
Yeah. So for you, it's more about being bigger than the just one person.
I kind of think if you're going to take the risk, or the perceived risk of, losing your salary to go it alone, surely one of the biggest upsides of that is the potential to earn a lot more.
Because you could grow it into a bigger business.
Because you can grow it into a bigger business, yeah. If you've got a vision for it to be just you freelancing, then yes, of course you can earn more, but you can also earn a higher day rate but not have guaranteed work, every single day, and therefore net out about the same, except you will absolutely have the overhead and stress of lack of guarantee. So it's kind of like go big or go home in a way. Like, why would you? That's what I think, is that if you're going to do it, you're going to do it to increase and grow something big rather than something just average.
Yeah.
But I do definitely get why some people don't want to grow that, and you said you don't either.
Yeah, no, I don't. But I think that is a bit of overcomplication. I definitely think it's a really good first step for people.
I agree, because it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So totally. and maybe you start yourself, and you never know what's going to happen. That is actually I totally agree with that, because you might not necessarily need to have the grand plan at the start. But freelancing could be a good way that you, like you said, start learning these new skills, and that could lead you on to all sorts of things that you never really considered were even an upside at that first move. Yeah, so I think we got two different views there. Lucy, you're kind of saying that you would advocate the idea of just going freelancing, and that's you would enjoy doing that
with no grand plan.
With no grand plan, I'm kind of more in the camp of go big or go home. But I would say overall, it's just if you are actually thinking about it, like, why not try it? You said then about not overcomplicating it. why not try it and actually try it on the side? It doesn't even have to be, black or white. Do I go for it or do I not? And sort of worrying about all of these things. Just there's so many different sites. Like what's the best? What's some sites that you've used, like
people per hour? Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's loads of job posting sites that you could just stick your profile up, have a little look at the opportunities that are out there, and see what you can have a go at. And not only that, think about social networks, Twitter, LinkedIn, full of opportunity and people that you could just start chatting to. You never know what will happen.
And would you say that you would do that? How would you do that if you're currently employed and they say you can't work with any other clients?
Well, I mean, you've got two options, haven't you? You can either follow the rules or break the rules, and maybe don't seek permission, just what's the quote?
A perfectly said quote. Don't ask for permission, seek forgiveness.
That's it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you need to be careful with who you're working with, and don't break any bridges.
Yeah, I would break bridges.
Break bridges. Burn your bridges. Don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
But I definitely put the feels out and have a few conversations with people.
I would say if you are thinking about it, take two different perspectives here about whether to do it or not. But ultimately, just to do something on the side. I'm sure there are ways that you can, quietly do things and just test the market, see if people are interested, and then go from there. See how it feels, see how much you like it. We hope you found that useful, guys. And once again, thank you so much for listening. As I said before, if you want to contribute yourself and ask your own question, remember, it's totally 100% anonymous. Head over to lifedesigndiaries.com/question, fill in the form, click submit, and we will answer it in a future episode.